Hey there, Goa fans. This is Mark, DJ Solitaire here with episode 79 of Retro Goa Explorations, my series in which I present in every episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. So we are still in the 96-97 season. So roughly from the autumn of 96 to the end of the summer 97. And this track is actually a little bit of a departure from that timeline, although the reason I'm including it now is because I first got my hands on this track in that time period. It was roughly it was either April, May 97 or August. And I just remember because that's roughly when I had these trades with the fellow who gave me this track. But it was released on vinyl in March 96, and it came out on a CD that was much better distributed, and which is how most people came across it, in September 97. So this is a track by two phenomenal artists. This is the first time we're featuring this collaboration, although one of these producers has been in the series a lot, including the first track that I featured in the series. This track is Warp Phase by Parasonix, which is a duo of Nick Taylor, who we know from Rhythmistech, Prana, and Akasha. And of course, later on his solo project, which we haven't covered yet, Snake Thing. And together with AB, also known as AB Didge. So Nick has been featured in this series a lot. He was living in Japan, was living in London then, with producing Prana, and then moved to Australia. And when he landed in Australia, he reconnected with AB. Now, they had met earlier in Brighton when they were all around London, and AB went into the Prana studio and played some didgeridoo for the track Scarab. And they all hit it off. And so when Nick moved to Australia, AB was his contact, and they all lived in a big house together with some other folks. So they started producing music together, and one of the first productions they made in their Parasonix project was Warp Phase. So this was released on a Harmonics vinyl. It was the flip side, the B side to the title of the single Buzzbug. And then it was released only much later on CD, more internationally, on Transient, on a compilation that I had got a promo of. Got the case still without, I don't know where the CD is, it's somewhere. The Wizardry of Oz. And this was produced by a New Zealand fellow who was around London the whole time that I was there, Pied Piper Paul. And so I reached out to AB, who I never met in the 90s. I just met Nick Taylor, I think I said that one time when Andrew Till was also flying through London, and Siyoshi invited me out to dinner with him and Gus Till and the whole lot, and sort of a lot, big Australian contingent. And um, and then AB, though, I had heard in Tokyo playing didgeridoo in chill out rooms at the Odyssey parties. So the first parties that I started going to, the regular ongoing parties that I was going to. So I heard him then, didn't meet up then. Also saw him do the most incredible one person live where he was like, that sample from that Space Tribe track. I sometimes wish I had multiple arms and legs, and he seemed to have multiple arms and legs, playing drums and synths and didgeridoo and all this stuff all at once. I mean, it's absolutely mind blowing. And there is some film footage from Solips in '99. I mean, nobody who else could do that but AB. So We met much later on, and relatively recently in the last decade, he passed through Vancouver. But he was, active in the scene internationally, and together he and Nick produced several tracks under the guise Parasonix. And AB had this to share. We were in the hills of Byron Bay, me and Nick Taylor. We both met when I was in London in '90s, in Brighton, as I named. We heard that the K2000 Kurzweil sampler was the best instrument for making Psy at that point, so we invested in it. Also, we were working off Cubase on Atari, as were many folks at the time. We were living together with a small crew. There was an old recording studio where occasionally we would have snakes pass through. True story. I have to check with Nick if that's the source of a snake thing. Uh, where are we here? We used to sample sounds that we made with dig and voices, and in Warp Phase, you can hear scream sounds and gated voices, some other odd voice samples of me. We wanted to create new sounds within the genre, within the general formula of the music being produced at the time. And so there was really, there's the wild flavor that you have of the Australian sound here, right? Like there's a real gritty, earthy, but also cyber electric kind of wildness to it. It's like the wild sounds of the forests in Australia and all their crazy animals. And that's really sort of some of the sounds that you really get here. As for the title, Warp Phase, which I always loved, and phase being spelt with a Z, always looks cool, just like Parasonix has an X at the end of it. Our intention behind the track was to warp the minds and spirits on the dance floor and to take them out of phase from the default world, to take them to another dimension. Well, mission accomplished in this track. Absolutely stellar production. Really, we can hear the commonality between, some Prana and the Rhythmistech stuff that Nick was, moving into just after Prana with Ray Castle. And so we hear sort of this thread of that cyber electric wildness that sort of seems to combine sort of this technological flavoring of nature. So you imagine like in Scarab, for example, as well. I mean, there's this kind of screeching, wild electric sound. So it really is like voices coming from another dimension. This has long been a favorite track of mine, and I was like, okay, yeah, it did come to me in '97, even though officially was, first came out in '96 and then was released later in '97. So let's give this one a listen, and then I've got a little story to share about the version that was released on CD versus the one on vinyl. Okay, so here we go. The brilliant, wild track Warp Phase by Parasonix. Okay, so similar sound that we had in a track by Rhythmistech. It's this kind of weird, sort of strong, and then these voices, distorted voices coming out of nowhere. So this is nice long slide, great for DAT mixing. Again, those voices. And then it's just going to blast into this next dimension. The rhythm here. Bounce to it. And this sound. Just really cuts through everything. Again, on a big system, this is just going to be so evocative. So, really cool break to bring it in. Notice the funk to the rhythm, right? There's a bit of syncopation to it. There's some bounce and groove, but it's also absolutely wild and psychedelic. Notice, again, that pattern also going up and down. There we go again. Then that break, and then we start getting the really key riff here. That sort of real gnarly, sort of could be Nord lead sort of sound like we had in Doof. And also in Psychaos. That tension there with that, I think it's a perfect fifth and a minor third. Might be a second, need to check. Again, notice that cool rhythm keeps you going. Those sort of sounds that have texture, but no note. And then we get these bouncy notes. That broken up chord. Beautiful gating. That's, again, that up and down stuff that used to be really common. And then this cyber electric riff over here. Cool storytelling breaks, and then whoosh, and then that cyber electric stuff. I just love how all the sounds come back, and it's such an organic storytelling structure where the voices interact with one another. Love that variation there. It's like that one's having a conversation. There's this rise coming up. Love that tension there. There's still that rise going on. Interplay between those two voices. Again, like that dialogue between these different aliens both trying to get the message across. This repeats this particular part of the riff. Break again. Again, just a cool little interlude here. It's so deceptive, you know, the blend of emotions and moods, right? It's just got a little sort of, it's got this kind of happy-go-lucky sort of thing going on in the middle of all this insanity. So just, again, that combination of different emotions that humans can experience simultaneously. I mean, the tonal palette, like the different instrumentation and the sounds we have here, just became really characteristic of Australian music at the time. But again, so individual in the storytelling here. Absolutely in love with this riff. We get all of the amazing voices coming in together. After this amazing interlude, this is like my favorite part of the track here. You get those things going up and down. You start getting these sweeping whooshes and beautiful lyrical melodic line here. These sort of magical, mystical harmonies, and then interjection from another dimension. Gorgeous. And just the wildness is going to start picking up. Get that gorgeous, gnarly voice here. And it's just going to go off the charts here. Again, cyber rock, right? Electro guitar from space. These layers happening simultaneously. There's more that's about to come in. Get that deceptively jubilant bounce. building up to the climax over here. Now we get this some octave going on here. The voice is duplicated. Extra oomph. Wheel. We get this spacious outro. Great for DAT mixing, except for the rhythm and make it a bit more challenging. And there we go. Well, I mean, really a scorcher, super psychedelic, otherworldly, just the wildness of, Australian music. I mean, wild and wacky and crazy and boundary defying was really, these were all major characteristics of the sound that would be coming out of Australia, largely on the Harmonics label run by Andrew Till, who released this. But what we have here is, amidst all the craziness, there's still incredible storytelling, some beautiful melodies, wonderful harmonies, and just this range of sounds. So we still have the, those up and down figurations that we would hear a lot, in Man with No Name and a lot of the sort of, London, Brighton-based producers. But with that wild edge and that gnarly sort of granular kind of sound that was really a major part of Australian music, as well as just some of the crazy rhythms and just amazing stuff. Now, when this was released on the CD, I don't have the official release, but on Wizardry of Oz, the outro is much shorter, right? So you notice you heard sort of how long the outro was over there. Just notice how much shorter it is on the CD. There's an edit right there. Well, the reason for that is the copy that I got on DAT that was circulating around London had a massive electronic glitch. It's kind of magnetic noise that just kind of made this really kind of not too dissimilar from some of the sounds that are actually in the track. But anybody who's used DAT machines and so on, occasionally there would you would get these glitches. And it was, an issue with the tape, and there would just be this really abrasive noise, and that was on at just the very key point in the conclusion. Like, as soon as the kick drops out, like, half a second later or 1 second later, this really nasty electromagnetic noise. It's not the kind of electromagnetic noise that, again, the producers were aiming for. So for whatever reason, another copy of the track was not obtained, and that was the copy that was available. And so, they spliced out that little section and did a little blend and sort of shortened the outro. So that is what was on CD and presumably on the vinyl on Transient, but the full version is on the original Harmonics Buzzbug single from March '96. And I now have the digital version with this one. So absolutely phenomenal track. I played it out at in CNA. First time I played at CNA in 2015. Nick told me that he played it at Apsara in 2023. I mean, it is still an absolutely astounding track and well worth listening to and tripping out to, because holy moly, really just peeling back the veil of what it is we see in our usual dimensional reality and moving into another one. So I will sign off here and leave you with the whole track without any commentary. I'm Mark, DJ Solitaire, wrapping up episode 79 and leaving you now with Warp Phase by Parasonix.